Before you change another O2 sensor, stop right here, because this is the mistake thousands of drivers make every single day. They see a check engine light, scan the code, and replace a sensor that was never the real problem. And then the code comes right back, sometimes in just a few miles. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Your O2 sensor might be perfectly healthy. The actual issue is hiding somewhere else in the engine or exhaust system. According to EPA emission control guidelines, proper diagnosis is essential because modern vehicles depend on tightly monitored exhaust data to stay within compliance. Today, I'll show you the real causes behind repeated O2 sensor codes and how to diagnose the problem before wasting money. 1. The big misdiagnosis. You see that check engine light. You scan the code. You see P0420, P0134, P0135, maybe P0171. The first instinct is always the same. My O2 sensor must be bad. But here's the truth. O2 sensors don't fail as often as people think. In fact, most of the time, they're reacting to another issue inside the engine or exhaust system. The sensor becomes the messenger that gets blamed for a problem it didn't create. People replace the sensor, but the code comes back. Shops replace the sensor, and the code comes back. And here's why. Because everyone assumes the sensor is the starting point, when it's actually the last piece in the chain. What actually triggers the code starts much earlier in the process, and you'll see exactly what that is in the next section. But that's where the real misunderstanding begins. 2. What your O2 sensors actually do. Let's break this down simply. Your vehicle has two main types of O2 sensors. 2. Upstream sensor. Sensor 1 measures the oxygen content coming out of the engine. It tells the ECU how to adjust fuel mixture. Downstream sensor, sensor 2, monitors catalytic converter efficiency by comparing readings with the upstream sensor. The ECU continuously watches both sensors and expects very specific patterns. If those patterns break, even slightly, it triggers a code. Here's the important part. If something causes the mixture to shift, even for reasons unrelated to the sensor, the ECU thinks something has changed in the exhaust system. That means the sensor isn't broken. It's just reporting what it sees. So when drivers replace the sensor without understanding what the readings mean, the root cause remains untouched, and that's exactly why the code always returns. Now here's the real question. What's actually causing those readings to go wrong? 3. The real reasons O2 sensor codes come back. Most O2 sensor trouble isn't the sensor. It's these hidden issues. It's exhaust leaks before the sensor, weak catalytic converter efficiency, dirty and inaccurate MAF sensor readings, vacuum leaks causing lean conditions, fuel trim imbalance from injectors or pressure issues, wiring or connector corrosion, aftermarket catalytic converters not matching OEM specs. Each of these problems will throw the exact same codes people blame on sensors. And the scariest part, you can replace the sensor, even with a brand new OEM unit, and the ECU will still trigger the same code if the underlying condition hasn't changed, because the sensor was never the problem. But there's one cause that fools more people than anything else, and that's next. 4. How exhaust leaks trick your O2 sensor. A tiny exhaust leak, so small you can't even hear it, can completely destroy your fuel trim reading. Here's what happens. Fresh oxygen gets sucked into the exhaust before it reaches the sensor. The sensor detects extra oxygen and reports a lean condition. The ECU responds by adding more fuel. Now the mixture becomes unstable. The car runs rich. The catalytic converter becomes overworked. And suddenly, P042 appears. P0171 appears. Your O2 sensor gets blamed again. But the sensor is doing exactly what it should, reporting the truth. It's the exhaust leak that's lying to the entire system. And yet leaks are only one piece of the puzzle, because airflow problems inside the engine are even more deceptive. 5. Airflow and fuel imbalance. The hidden troublemaker. Your O2 sensor sits at the end of the entire combustion process. which means it reports whatever the engine gives it, good or bad. So when something earlier in the system becomes unstable, the O2 sensor instantly reflects that change, even though the sensor itself is still working perfectly. Here are the most common issues that create false O2 sensor errors. Dirty MAF sensor misreads incoming air, causing the ECU to command the wrong fuel mixture. Vacuum leaks pull in unmetered air, forcing the engine into a lean condition. Weak or dirty fuel injectors deliver uneven fuel, creating inconsistent combustion. Low fuel pressure causes the engine to run lean under load. Ignition misfires send unburned oxygen into the exhaust, confusing downstream reading. When any of these problems occur, the O2 sensor starts reporting irregular patterns the ECU doesn't expect. From the outside, it looks like the sensor is the culprit, but it's simply responding to the chaos happening upstream. So drivers replace the sensor, shops replace the sensor, yet the code returns because the airflow problem was never corrected. And that's exactly why the next section becomes the most critical step in solving these issues. Quick reminder: if videos like this help you avoid unnecessary repairs, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. 6. The diagnostic checklist before replacing any O2 sensor. Before replacing an O2 sensor, a real mechanic never starts by removing parts. Instead, they follow a structured diagnostic process, because the sensor is often the last component affected, not the first one to fail. These steps reveal whether the problem comes from the sensor itself or something upstream. Short-term and long-term fuel trims. These numbers instantly show whether the engine is running lean or rich. 2. Exhaust leaks before the sensor. Even a tiny leak can distort oxygen reading. MAF sensor condition. Dirt or oil film can cause massive airflow miscalculations. 4. Vacuum leaks or cracked hoses. They pull in unmetered air and destabilize mixture control. Catalytic converter temperature difference. A weak or aging converter often mimics sensor failure. 6. Sensor wiring and connector corrosion. Poor electrical contact can create false readings. Misfire history and spark plug condition. Misfires inject raw oxygen into the exhaust. 8. O2 sensor switching rate and voltage response. Determines if the sensor is actually functioning correctly. If any of these checks fail, replacing the sensor will not fix the problem. The ECU will continue receiving distorted data and will eventually trigger the same code again. Now you understand why O2 sensors are often innocent. So next, let's look at when you should not replace one. 7. When you should not replace the O2 sensor. There are many situations where replacing the O2 sensor is not only unnecessary, but completely ineffective. These are the cases where the sensor is working exactly as it should, and the real problem lies somewhere else in the system. For example, you get a P04 tuning code by itself, with no heater circuit or sensor-specific codes. The sensor switches smoothly between rich and lean, which means it's responding correctly. The sensor reacts immediately when you press the throttle, showing it's alive and communicating. Fuel trims are off, indicating a mixture imbalance, not a sensor failure. The catalytic converter shows reduced efficiency, causing the downstream sensor to mimic the upstream sensor. The code returns even after installing a new O2 sensor, proving the original wasn't the root cause. In all these cases, the O2 sensor is simply reporting the truth. It's the system around it that's failing. Airflow issues, exhaust leaks, fuel imbalance, or a weak catalytic converter. Replacing the sensor won't solve any of these conditions, because the sensor isn't the source of the problem. But there are specific scenarios where the O2 sensor truly is bad, and those are the only times replacement is justified. 8. When the O2 sensor is actually bad. Real O2 sensor failure looks different than people think. Watch for these signs. The sensor voltage stuck at switching between rich-lean. Heater circuit code, slow or delayed response. Physical damage on the sensor tip. No voltage change after you snap the throttle. Internal failure when sensor heats up. When these symptoms appear, the sensor truly needs replacement. But replacing it correct matters even more. Diagnostic key. Use OEM or high-quality brands. Apply anti-seize only to threads, never near the tip. Do not touch the sensor element. Disconnect battery to reset ECU trims. Torque to proper specification. Replace sensors in matching pairs, upstream pair or downstream pair, correctly. This ensures the system resets and readings stabilize. And with that, here's the final message that will save you hundreds of dollars. Final thought. Now you know the real truth behind O2 sensor problem. The sensor is rarely the villain. It's the messenger, reporting what's actually happening inside your engine and exhaust system. Exhaust leaks, airflow issues, weak catalytic efficiency, fuel imbalance, wiring faults. These are the real reasons those codes keep returning, even after installing a brand new sensor. And once you understand how the entire system works together, you stop wasting money on parts you didn't need and start diagnosing your vehicle the right way. That's the goal. Smarter decisions, fewer guesswork repairs, and a car that runs the way it should. So before replacing another O2 sensor, run through the checklist, confirm the symptoms, and fix the real issue hiding behind the code. If this video helped you avoid unnecessary repairs, hit subscribe. It supports the channel and ensures you never miss the next real-world mechanic guide.